YouTube that now the broadcast is live.
All right, so hi guys. I hope we are live now. Let me just still verify it.
Yeah, it's live now. I can see it here.
I'll just see if the swipe up is working. I'm so sorry, I'm very bad with. Okay, it is. All right, awesome. So, hi guys, I am Anushka, and we have with us Rinkesh today. Rinkesh is the founder of Savior Technologies, which is based on which is a blockchain startup which he founded and sold during his college days. And now he is the founder of Upskill India, and he's a blockchain tutor. So, hi Rinkesh, how are you doing today?
Hi Anushka, thank you so much for first of all having me here, and I'm doing great. I hope you're doing great too. Okay, and very much excited for discussing this topic with you.
Awesome. So we'll just wait for like 1 more minute till everyone joins in, and
Sure.
then we'll bounce to the first and the most important question, which everyone wants to know is what is Bitcoin? So tell us more about yourself, Rinkesh, till then about your journey a little. How did you exactly get into this industry of blockchain and Bitcoin?
Right. So back in my college days, I had a team of friends whom we used to go at hackathons and various competitions. Okay, basically uh, trying out the various different kinds of ideas what we had in our mind, and we were at a hackathon at Triple IT Allahabad, and the only option we had at that point was that we were supposed to basically make an app or an idea around the theme of blockchain, and none of us were actually good at blockchain. Everyone has heard basically what blockchain is, but never worked on it or never knew actually in depth or on a technical part. And 48 hours into hackathon, I found it very fascinating since I got into deep of what exactly blockchain was and everything. The outcome of hackathon didn't result in our way, but probably that's where I picked up the whole blockchain part
Mm.
and got the groove into it. And now it's almost 2.5 years now where I've been developing apps on blockchain. I've taught more than 1,000 people in this team of blockchain in every place. So yeah, it's been a very fascinating journey, and I'm very much excited for what the future holds for the whole blockchain technology.
Awesome. So, hi everyone who's here once again. And from today's life, you can expect to know the basics of what Bitcoin is, what blockchain is, in a very simple manner. Like, we will try to break it down for you, use analogies, and not use a single jargon. But that also means that if you there will be some analogies which will be simplified for you, so it won't be like a direct comparison. The idea behind this live is to make sure that you understand at least the basics and you have a fair idea so that you understand from now. If you want to meet further, you have a base that is being built. So, Rinkesh, we'll go to the first question, and literally what like the most everyone what everyone wants to know about. If you could tell us simply what is Bitcoin?
Okay, so to be very straight and very in a very simplistic manner, Bitcoin is basically a cryptocurrency, which is a decentralized peer-to-peer currency. Okay, now let me break into different parts of. There are certain words which I basically said. So currency, cryptocurrency, which basically I meant. Okay, in that particular aspect, currency is basically a mode of format in which we exchange value. So today we use rupees as a mode of exchange of value. So where you have to purchase something, you give out a 10 rupees note to buy a 10 rupees dairy milk. Okay, so that is something which is we call today as currency. So Bitcoin is something very similar, but actually in digital form. So let's say if you want to buy a dairy milk for a 10 rupees, okay, or a 10 something, which is the cryptocurrency, you basically buy it via digital form of payments. Okay, and one such example of that digital currency is Bitcoin.
Awesome. So you now mentioned that Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. So what
Yeah.
exactly is a cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so as I explained, cryptocurrency is basically a formation of two words, crypto and currency. We all know that currency is basically an exchange of value of medium or some or the other level. Crypto is basically derived from the technical word called cryptography. And what cryptography means actually is basically encryption, hashing, and basically making everything which is on the internet basically secured. Okay, so when we basically
So is this like what WhatsApp means, end-to-end encryption?
yes,
That's basically the
yeah,
crypto part of cryptocurrency.
yes,
All
yes, yes.
right.
So crypto is basically the backbone of whole internet, and anything which you are transferring or anything which you are basically sending via internet, be it your chat, be it your messages, be it your email, be it your currencies. Okay, that is one of the example is Bitcoin. Everything is basically backed up on cryptography. That makes it secure. That makes it sound enough to basically say that okay, it cannot be hacked or it cannot be manipulated by any hacker at that point.
All right. So if we want to summarize, cryptocurrency will be, so there is this currency which is there digitally. It's not, it has no physical presence. And because it is cryptocurrency, so it is basically, cryptocurrency is, so that currency which is there digitally, that's encrypted. So it is not hackable and people can't really understand what it is, like what the under matter is.
Yes, yes, yes. I'll try to give you a bit more context around this. Let's say I'm giving you a 10 rupees note, okay, hand to hand transfer, okay. Now you can feel that particular note in your hand. You can feel that particular 10 rupees note in your hand. But let's say what happens that I'm trying to send you a 10 rupees digital coin. Okay. Now, what happens with digital coin is that we do not have the regulatory or we do not have the account that that particular coin which I'm sending to you, it's not now with me only. Okay, I have actually sent it to you and I do not have any other copies with me. Okay, so this is basically called double spending. So people can actually cheat very easily. So cryptography comes into this particular place where it basically solves this particular problem that if I have sent you something digitally, especially a currency, especially a digital asset, okay, Bitcoin solved this particular problem that if I send Anushka one Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is now basically belongs to Anushka only, and I do not have any Bitcoin left with me.
All right. So that was what cryptocurrency is. So
Yeah,
now, when you talk about digital money or like cryptocurrency is only present digitally.
yeah,
So even rupee, when I'm transacting through my bank accounts, that's
yeah.
also digital money. That's also digital form of currency. So
Right.
how this digital money is different from Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies?
Right, right. So that's a very interesting question, and I'll give you a very simple analogy between how payments, online payments works basically in today's time, and how payments works in this space of Bitcoin and blockchain. Okay, so let's say if I'm sending you 10 rupees, Anushka. Okay, so what basically happens is that I use a vendor or a third party app like Phone Pay or a Google Pay or something like that. Okay, and I basically add your address. I basically add your particular part. Now, let's go in the background and see what exactly is happening. What is happening is that the phone pay or the bank or the Reserve Bank of India, which are the middlemen here, they basically check whether I have a valid account or not. Okay, now they basically check whether I have a valid account or not. Second thing, what they do is that they check whether Anushka's account is valid or not. Okay, now the third thing which is being checked about is that whether I have the balance in my account or not, the amount of which I am sending to you, whether do I have that much amount or not in my account. Okay, and if these three basic conditions are basically met, okay, the phone pay, the bank which I'm associated with, or the RBI, okay, these basically make a entry in the ledger which is a digital ledger. So let's say when you enter a society or a place, they basically tell you that hey, please enter your name and details and everything. We need to keep a log of who has entered the society or not. Okay, something similar happens when a transaction is happening. The government, the banks, the Reserve Bank of India or the third party vendors which are there, they keep a log of every transaction that is happening. Okay, now this is what is called a centralized system. Okay, now once this ledger is being maintained, okay, what happens is that that ledger says that, okay, Rinkesh has sent 10 rupees to Anushka, and that ledger entry is being created. Okay, and at the end of the result, what we see is that 10 rupees is being deducted from my account, and 10 rupees has been increased in the Anushka's account. Okay, and that is what the whole basis of transaction in the centralized system, where a third party mediator is there. Okay, now uh, let's consider a decentralized system where we talk about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Okay, so here we basically need, first of all, not a third party intermediary, but a group of people. Okay, so let's assume, Anushka, that instead of having a bank, we are in a group of 10 people, and now I want to actually send one Bitcoin to you. Okay, so what basically happens is that all these 10 people, including me and you, have a digital ledger. Okay, remember the ledger which I said in the centralized system, the banks used to maintain, okay, where they write the transaction.
Hmm.
Okay, the same kind of ledger is being now maintained by all these 10 individuals. Okay, now let's say I want to make a transaction and I say that, hey Anushka, I want to send you 10 bitcoins. Okay, so what happens is that when I say that particular part, like when bank used to check whether I have a valid account or not, whether Anushka has a valid account or not, and whether I have sufficient balance in my account or not, the 10 people in that group check whether I have a valid account or not, whether Anushka has a valid account or not, and whether I have 10 bitcoin in my balance or not. Okay, now when these three conditions are basically met, when these three conditions are basically actually checked by all these individuals in the group, and they say that, okay, these conditions are actually met, they basically write that particular transaction verifying that, okay, yes, Rinkesh has sent 10 bitcoins to Anushka. Okay, so similar to centralized system where only the bank were only maintaining that ledger, here all the 10 people are basically maintaining the ledger, and that's why we call it a decentralized, where the power or the ledger which is being maintained is maintained by everyone. Okay, so now once the ledger is being maintained and returned by everyone, one individual, 10 bitcoin from my wallet is being deducted, and 10 bitcoin in your wallet is incremented, and that in a very simple language is what or how Bitcoin basically works, and the difference in the payment works.
So if I had to summarize in a payment or like normally what happens, it's very centralized and every time a transaction has to take place, we need a middleman, we need the banks and RBI to facilitate that transaction. But
Yeah.
in Bitcoin, there's no middleman needed. The entire network is there. The network has a group of people, machines, where every time a transaction takes place, say you transfer money to me, it will be available or it will be changed by the entire network, like at least more than
Yeah.
50% of it. So
Yeah.
that is the difference. So there is no one authority which facilitates the
Basically,
transaction,
yeah.
yeah, or has a lot of control over it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so then this is what Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is one of the cryptocurrencies which is
Yeah.
there in this decentralized manner. What are the other cryptocurrencies that are out there, and how are they different from Bitcoin?
Right. So Bitcoin was basically the first cryptocurrency which was ever made in 2008 and 9. Okay. After Bitcoin, there have been several different kinds of cryptocurrencies which are there out in the market. There are basically three types of cryptocurrencies, if I have to basically categorize them in a generalized way. So the first is the Bitcoin itself. Okay. Now, to give you a bit more of context, okay, the code, since Bitcoin is basically an online currency, it is a coded currency. Okay, so the code is basically open. So what that means is that I can see that code, you can see that, even you can see the code, and everyone in the audience can also see that code and actually can edit also or make certain changes also. Okay, so that is called open source technology. Okay, now since it is an open source, a lot of developers since the inception of Bitcoin forked, basically took the code of Bitcoin, changed it a bit, okay, and renamed it to some other name, okay, which are basically in a general term called altcoins. Okay, so altcoins are basically the coins which are basically derived from Bitcoins. Okay, and has certain different kinds of uh, properties other than Bitcoins. Okay, so it might have certain different one or two different feature what Bitcoin might or might not have. Okay, the another kind of cryptocurrency is business driven cryptocurrency. Let's say you want to purchase a land. Okay, so in a land purchase, what happens is that you sign a contract. Okay, so blockchain or cryptocurrencies can enable this particular part with the introduction of something called as smart contracts. And one of the biggest example and the second biggest cryptocurrency after Bitcoin, which is Ethereum, is powered by a smart contract. So let's say if I am purchasing a land from you, Anushka, okay, via blockchain system, via Ethereum, okay, the contract will be basically on the Ethereum, okay, and I will be paying or you will be paying me in ethers, which is the cryptocurrency Ethereum. Okay, so that is a totally business driven application. Okay, which is one side of it. Okay, remember, Bitcoin is a pure currency. Okay, Bitcoin is a pure digital currency. Ethereum is a business based cryptocurrency, and there are a lot of other cryptocurrencies, as I mentioned, which are called altcoins, which are derived from these
Code
Bitcoin.
of
Okay, yeah, code of Bitcoin. Okay, one such example is Ripple. Okay, so Ripple is basically used for interbank transfers. Okay, so I cannot send you Ripple or you cannot send me Ripples in a way of certain of Bitcoin, because it's not something which is valuable in the market for the mode of transaction basis. Okay, it's only used for the bank to bank transfers. Okay, and for that particular application only. So again, if to be summarizing this whole part, first cryptocurrency is basically Bitcoin. The second ones are basically cryptocurrencies derived from Bitcoins, which are called altcoins. And the third one are the business driven cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, okay, which can have the power of cryptocurrency plus business logic combined together.
All right. So there's this very important, like very interesting question here that from what Sachit Singla asked, that Bitcoin does not have any value in itself. Also, it is not used as a mode of exchange in current times. Then why has the value of Bitcoin has grown manifold? As
Sorry,
in, so
I lost you actually.
hello.
Can you repeat it? I lost you.
Okay. So the question basically is that Bitcoin does not have any value in itself. It is
Mhm.
not used as a mode of exchange in current times. Then why has the value of Bitcoin grown so much?
Okay, so first of all, any currency which is used, okay, if you consider the fiat money, the fiat currency which we use today, that is rupees or dollars, okay, that also doesn't have any particular set of fixed value. The 10 rupees note which you have in your hand, that is actually not worth 10 rupees. It's actually worth less than a rupees. Okay, so it's basically an amount decided by government. Okay, and also a lot of various factors, okay, by the economic health of the country, against how the dollars is working and every other thing. Okay, I'm not getting into how the value is determined. Okay, so the value of Bitcoin is basically the game of demand and supply. Okay, so if something is in a very huge demand, obviously the value of that will be increasing. Okay, so if Anushka, the let's say there is a very simple example that if your demand in the market very much increases, the amount of charge you will be basically charging the customers who are coming to you, that will probably go high. Okay, so that's the same thing with Bitcoin, that's the same thing with everything. Okay, that's a very simple logic, you can apply to
Demand
everything, right? So as demand goes up, the supply basically becomes less and the demand or the value of Bitcoin goes higher. Okay, now this to answer the second part, okay, that Bitcoin is not actually used by anyone. That's very actually that's not completely true. Right now in today's time, more than 5 lakh businesses, okay, all over the world, okay, have adopted Bitcoin for mode of payments and everything. And I'm just talking about here for Bitcoin, okay. And to give you a bit of more context, okay, there are more than 2 lakh cryptocurrencies in this whole world, okay. So Bitcoin started in 2008 and 9, okay, and since till 2021 today, there are more than 2 lakh cryptocurrencies, okay. And Bitcoin is highly the most adopted one. But if you can see that since Bitcoin has such a higher rate of adoption, the other cryptocurrencies also have picked up a very huge amount of traction. And it's not completely true that Bitcoin doesn't have any demand in the market, or there's not actually used by any sense of businesses by anyone.
All right. So, as you mentioned that Bitcoin currently is not, it is a currency, but it is not a legal tender. As in, the government in India does not recognize it as a official currency. So, if
Right.
something is just a currency, it does not have any central government backing. Then how exactly, or what is the legality of Bitcoin in India, and what risk in future does regulation bring to Bitcoins
Right,
or
right, right.
any cryptocurrency in general?
Yes, that's a kind of a tricky question to answer. So I'll just try to give you answer in a multiple context of how certain things happened in India. The very first question, the very first myth I want to break is that many people believe that Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies can actually be banned by the government, and you can stop the trade of Bitcoins at some level. Okay, but that actually not true. The whole point of introducing cryptocurrency is the point of decentralization. As we talked in the earlier discussion, we do not have a centralized authority governing that particular part. Okay, so a very famous incident which happened in our country itself, where the RBI basically banned the trade of cryptocurrency. There were basically two reasons, or there was actually two things which most people don't know about. Okay, first thing is that it was not banned. The trade of Bitcoin were actually not banned. It was the banks which were associated, which were actually facilitating the trade of Bitcoins, were actually banned. So even if you want to actually do the trade, the banks will not be able to help you convert your rupees, your dollars, or any particular thing in the cryptocurrency. Or if you have the cryptocurrency, you will not be able to convert it back. Okay, so the banks were banned. And why that particular ban was actually implemented was because, since I said earlier a couple of minutes back, there are more than 2 lakh Bitcoin, 2 lakh cryptocurrencies in the world right now. Okay, but you will be very amazed that more than 70 to 8 around 70 to 80% of those cryptocurrencies are actually fraud cryptocurrencies. Okay, so in
Wow.
2000, yes, so in 2000 and 2018, when this ban was imposed by the RBI, okay, the amount of Ponzi schemes, okay, the amount of Ponzi schemes of networks of people raising funds via cryptocurrencies were heavily increasing. Okay, and since a lot of people still today don't have knowledge of good of cryptocurrencies and everything, back in 2000 and 2018, 17 and 18, a lot of people were heavily invested. And to actually safeguard the interest of the investors, to actually not fall prey to these scams, okay, the government of India basically decided to put a ban on trading limits of these particular cryptocurrencies and see that. And that particular ban was also lifted back in 2000 March 2020. Okay, and around the regulation part, whether Bitcoin is legal or not, it's completely legal. No government or no particular individual can actually stop you from having or buying any Bitcoin or any in respect of any particular cryptocurrency as well. Okay, so this is what the wholesome part around whether Bitcoin is actually something which could be banned or not, or something which could be controlled by any government or not.
But in India, the government is coming up with a lot of regulations around Bitcoin so that the crypto investors, their interests are safeguarded and there are less frauds. So it is
Yes,
not that the government is planning to ban it. The government is actually trying to regulate it so that there are no frauds and like no Ponzi schemes like there were there before.
right.
And and like you said, the bitcoins and cryptocurrencies were never actually banned. There was just a banking ban on banks facilitating the transaction. I actually
Yes.
have on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
All
So I
right.
try to
So
give you a bit more context around this particular part. Okay, comparing it to how stock markets, or you asked me that the risk associated with Bitcoin as well, right? So I'll try to give you a bit more context on that. Is, let's say you're investing in shares of uh, what you could say Geo. Okay, now when you invest in a particular share which is publicly traded, or just a public company basically, you can actually see that, okay, Geo has fared well. Okay, in 2020 Geo has raised so much money, Geo is coming out with this much amount of products, the public opinion about Geo is good. Okay, so it is meant to go higher. Okay, so when the public image, the products, company well-being is good, you can basically safeguard your interest as an investor, that okay, I can buy 1,000 shares of Reliance Jio today, and probably in 5, 10, or whatever amount of period when what you want to invest in, you can actually gain profit out of it and you can become a shareholder. And that is basically called this is basically called stock market. Okay, where you trade in. Okay, now there is something very similar concept, okay, in Bitcoin, where you are trading in Bitcoin, where you're investing in Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency as per se. Okay, now as I said before earlier, that Bitcoin is not actually affected by the inflation rate of a country, or the economic policies of the country, or the government, whether it's this government or that government. Okay, whether there is a coronavirus or not. Okay, it's all a demand supply game. Okay, so if demand is higher, the value will grow higher. Okay, and the supply will even then go higher. Okay, so in this particular case, no one can actually be a good judge whether today the demand will be good or not, or today the demand will be bad or not. Okay, you do not have a publicly patterned note that, okay, since Bitcoin rose tomorrow by 1,000 rupees or $1,000, it will go up today by 1,000 rupees also. Okay, so one particular part or one particular difficulty while investing or while basically getting into Bitcoin is this, that the risk value, since not knowing how the ups and downs will basically affect you. Okay, it becomes a bit more riskier to get into that.
all right, so like you mentioned now that Bitcoin is, when you invest and the value of Bitcoin actually depends on the demand and supply.
Yeah,
But demand and supply, when you invest on the basis of that, when the stock is going up, or like, sorry, when the Bitcoin's value is going up, you invest and then you exit at a higher valuation, making a profit. That's
right.
basically trading in Bitcoin. So,
Yeah.
say I don't really want to trade in Bitcoin, why should I then purchase Bitcoin? What about its underlying technology? What effect can Bitcoin have in future?
Yes. So there's a very, very interesting thing. Okay. And if you have been following on social media and Twitter and everything, okay, you might came across a one particular part where a social media CEO, basically a social media company basically had so much of power that it led to a ban of a very authoritative person. Okay, and after a couple of days of that, the CEO of that company said that yes, social media companies today have a lot of power, and they are basically can do anything today. Okay, so to give you a bit of more context here, the world is gonna be, or a more or less decentralized. When I say decentralized, not only from the point of perspective of payments, that is like Bitcoin, but in every respect to healthcare, social media, and every aspects of. Okay, so if you do not want to actually become a trader on Bitcoin, be someone who can actually be someone who is actually backing Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, or the blockchain technology, which is going to fare well in the next decade. Okay, and let's say you invest in a one Bitcoin today. Okay, and you do not do it from the sense of trade. but tomorrow the Bitcoin fares well, okay, and it becomes a good amount, it becomes a mainstream currency, okay, you will be having a good amount of chance that, okay, at that point the amount of value, the value of Bitcoin would be too high, or would be a pretty good amount of uh, value that you will be able to yield good results. But to give you a disclaimer here, okay, it's not necessary, since the hype of Bitcoin is too high, and since the hype of Bitcoin is too much, okay, people are just saying that Bitcoin is going to be the future of currency and everything, but we never really know what's going to be the future, or what's going to be the kind of future, okay. It can be Bitcoin, it can be some other currency, it could be a whole different currency which is still not made or still not discovered by people, okay. So putting all your eggs in one basket is not the right idea in that particular sense. But yeah, Bitcoin is the leader right now in the crypto space, okay, and that is something which you can watch out for a longer run, if not for the from
Is Bitcoin's technology also superior to other altcoins? Is it so?
Yeah, so the reason, there's a very good question which most people do not ask, that why since 2008 there has been no currency which has actually been able to topple Bitcoin, okay, and has not replaced the kind of power Bitcoin has, okay. And the reason behind that particular part is the mathematical technicality of Bitcoin, okay, the way it is being coded. And Bitcoin was fundamentally meant to replace the existing fiat currency. Okay, if you read the Satoshi Nakamoto agenda, okay, why Bitcoin was basically released, it was released in the last recession in
Hmm.
2008 and 2009, where the whole economy collapsed, and that's where he proposed that we need a decentralized system like Bitcoin, okay. And every other cryptocurrency after that, okay, has been not aligned towards actually becoming a currency which could be adopted worldwide, okay. If you see Ethereum is not something a pure cryptocurrency from the point of exchange of value, okay, it has business logics and everything. Altcoins which are derived from Bitcoin do not have all the same properties or the robustness or the scalability of the Bitcoin, okay. And that's why Bitcoin has been the most popular and the most.
What is meant by scalability of Bitcoin? Like why others don't have? If it's the same similar code only, then
See, when it means to scalability, okay. If I give you a bit more detail, okay, the amount to basically mine, or to basically what you could say, to get basically one Bitcoin, okay, it needs power of the whole continent of Australia uses in
okay.
one day. Okay, I'll repeat the part. Okay, so basically to mine Bitcoin, or to basically get or extract one particular Bitcoin, okay, it needs the power of whole continent of Australia, okay, and in for one particular part, okay. Now the problem with this particular part is this is very huge amount of electricity, okay. Now the different coins which have been created, or different particular parts which has been there, okay, either they use too much of energy to actually mine, okay, to actually basically get the transactions done, or probably the speed of transactions are very slow, or probably the what you could say, the amount of gas or the amount of computational power it requires is too much, okay. So Bitcoins are basically not just the Bitcoin uses a very hell lot of power to actually get extracted, to actually get mined, if I have to use a technical term, okay. And that's why the scalability issues are there with the Bitcoin as well, okay. Most people term Bitcoin as the currency of future, but it still has limitations of its own, where the scalability is very not good, okay. Today a very few percent of population, actually like less than a percent of population use Bitcoin, and the amount of power Bitcoin uses today is almost half of India's power, okay, almost half of India's power. If I have to give you some total, okay, not from the perspective of days or time or anything, but that's the kind of amount of energy or the electricity it uses, Okay, so imagine, let's say, the whole 8 to 10 million people in next a decade or two start using Bitcoin on a daily level. Okay, the kind of energy, the kind of electricity, and the kind of computational power it will need. So that's why scalability is a very, very big issue, not only with Bitcoin but with blockchain as well, and that's why it's been not so popular and very, very much expensive on that side.
But then also, why other cryptocurrencies are not as so basically did like Bitcoin get the first mover advantage and it is at the level it is, and hence the other cryptocurrencies can't really get the investment in terms of energy, and that is why they're not as scalable.
Yeah, not only from the point of investment or anything. Okay, so when we say that it doesn't have the scalability or cannot replace, the very simple reason is that other cryptocurrencies are not actually meant or were never made to actually replace the fiat currencies. Okay, so let's say there are 2
But
lakh
what
or
about Litecoin? Then there are a lot of other
right.
cryptocurrencies which are like Bitcoin only.
Yes. So with Litecoin, what basically happens is that it doesn't have. So basically, the amount of electricity that is being basically used to mine one Litecoin, okay, that Bitcoin uses less than half of energy to basically get that mined. Okay. So what happens is that you can copy the code. Okay, you can basically get that particular code from Bitcoin, but to optimize that particular code in a certain way, you cannot just copy the code, make few changes, and present it as your own cryptocurrency. Okay, it needs to have a significant difference of features which basically enables them. And Bitcoin was basically always meant to replace the fiat currency. At least it was made in that sense. Every rest of the cryptocurrencies are actually not directed towards that. Okay, we'll try to be that cryptocurrency or that digital currency which will replace the fiat currency, and everyone will start using that. Okay, so if I have to give you in the context, okay, or in the general terms, Bitcoin is the dollars of cryptocurrencies. Okay, and Litecoin and every other cryptocurrencies are rupees, then Canada dollar, then this dollar, then that dollar. Okay, but the supreme power or the supreme part of what everyone uses or what everyone has is the Bitcoin, which is in cryptocurrencies term the dollar.
So if today I am looking to invest in a currency, a cryptocurrency, should I what should I know before investing? What is the risk profile of me as an investor to invest?
Okay, so to invest, first of all, the very first part which I want to debunk is that uh, most people think that if I want to buy Bitcoin, okay, or any particular cryptocurrency, okay, I have to buy it fully. Okay, so first of all, you do not have to necessarily buy in one Bitcoin. Okay, so today the price of Bitcoin is 26 lakh something. Okay, the beauty of Bitcoin is that you can buy 0.000001 Bitcoin as well. Okay, and that price would be 500 rupees, 1000 rupees, or any particular part. Okay, and that basically enables anyone at that particular level of any economical level to help them invest into Bitcoin. Okay, so most people think that okay, Bitcoin is road to 26 lakh, 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs. Okay, and I do not have that much amount of money. Most people do not know that you can buy in bits and pieces, like any particular fraction of Bitcoin you can do that. Second thing is that do not just get into hoard just because everyone is buying. Okay, you should be buying. Okay, so if you are into the buying, okay, or if you want to actually become a trader, or if you want to actually invest, have some background research around that. If the prices are going up, why that prices are going up. Okay, and obviously the best place or obviously the best time was when is when the prices are becoming low. Okay, so if you see, the prices went up to 30 lakhs a couple of days back. It came back very sharply, okay, by few lakhs, a lot of people jumped onto the board, which who missed out. Okay, and the Bitcoin price went up again. Okay, the very next day. Okay, so if there are certain part or any certain risk or any particular part you need to maintain is, first of all, do not invest more than 5 to 10% of your income portfolio which you are doing. Okay, because as I said, do not put all your eggs in one basket. Okay, study why basically or what exactly is the current scenario of Bitcoin and why exactly it's going up or down. Okay, you can do that with a very basic, simple search or a basic, simple article which is there, and invest in your limit. Do not just do it for the sake of everyone is doing. Okay, and for the short bucks of, okay, I'll invest today and take it out tomorrow, because it's all of a risk game, because it depends on supply and demand, and neither me, neither you, or neither any government can control the prices of Bitcoin. Okay, so those are certain points which you can have in your mind while targeting or getting into investment of cryptos.
Okay, so we'll take a couple of questions now.
Sure.
So this question is by Arjun, and he's asking, how will the middleman approve this as a legal tender when it's going to replace them?
Right. So if you see, or if you have been watching a lot of news and articles and every other part, okay, there could be one possible future where the government itself start their own cryptocurrency. Okay, so let's say in future there could be a Bharat coin which could be launched by the government of India, which could be a legal tender for the online transactions. Okay,
Like China
and
has,
sorry.
like China has their own
Yes,
cryptocurrency yuan.
like China has their own cryptocurrency. Okay, now that doesn't mean India will have its own or not. Okay, it's a speculation. Okay, and this could be one particular way of transacting. The second way of transacting, or the second way of how the nature of transacting an online medium would be, let's say we use Facebook today for free. Okay, and we do not have to pay anything. Okay, but if you know, Facebook has a cryptocurrency of their own that is called Libra. Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, so in tomorrow's time or in future, what could actually happen is that if you want to actually sign up on Facebook, you cannot sign up on free. You have to basically trade on Libra. Basically, you pay in Libra to uh, Facebook, and then you basically get into the platform. So this could be applied in the gaming industry as well. Okay, you have virtual coins in the form of virtual coins. Those coins could be replaced by crypto tokens, which are actually the tokens which you could purchase. Okay, and do that. Okay, so there are two aspects. One is the centralized currency, which the government can actually issue from their side, which would be probably permitted at every level. Okay, be it the shopkeeper, be it the cabs, or be it any social media platforms or anything, which is the currency of the nation. Okay, digital currency. And the second thing is the crypto tokens, which are issued specific to the platforms. Okay, so YouTube or Google could have their own, Facebook could have their own, the every other platform which you use can have their own tokens, and you can basically transact, and we can basically use those tokens to do that. So this
And
is
they
how.
don't need to be legal tender. When something is a legal tender, it means that it is backed by the government and no one can say no to accepting it.
Yes,
But anything can be a currency as long as it's a mode of payment and the other person wants to accept it.
exactly,
So the
exactly.
government does not really need to approve it as a legal tender for Bitcoin to exist and be used as a legal currency.
Right,
But and
right.
of course, the government does not like it because it is going to reduce their power. So they are going to try to regulate it also.
Yes,
But
the very fact of government being involved or any particular third party involved makes it very like doesn't make sense at a core level, because Bitcoin or blockchain is basically known for having a decentralized power. Okay, and doesn't need to have any intermediaries. But yeah, we can see how things roll out in future.
so Kanishka is asking, can we convert Bitcoin to real money or in a way where we can use it when it is not digitized?
Okay, yes, we can obviously. What happens is that what we use today, or how we actually buy Bitcoin or trade Bitcoin, is via crypto exchanges. Okay, so there are a lot of different crypto exchanges in India, which are Neocoin, then WazirX, Coinbase, and every sorts of those. Okay, so these are basically the phone pays and Google pays of cryptocurrencies. Okay, so what you can do is you can basically convert your Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any cryptocurrencies you have, okay, into the fiat currency which you are owning, okay, or convert your fiat currency into the cryptocurrency you want, okay, and they basically charge you a certain transaction amount, okay, for that transaction or for that conversion of or buying or selling that particular cryptocurrency. So it's a very easy thing. You can use any of these crypto exchanges platform and convert your real money into cryptocurrency or cryptocurrency into real money.
All right. Then Mani is asking, can we create a new cryptocurrency?
Yes, you can very much create your own cryptocurrency. I have created my own cryptocurrency. Okay, and cryptocurrency doesn't require for creating a cryptocurrency. All you need to know is how to code on blockchain. Okay, that is something which you need to learn. But yes, every individual has the power of creating their own cryptocurrency and raising an IPO, getting
It's
money
called
or raising.
ICO, right? Initial coin offering.
Yeah, initial coil. Do you want me to explain that
No.
particular term?
Okay. So, can you explain what is blockchain in a very simple manner?
Okay, so blockchain in very simplest manner uh, could be imagine imagine, let's say you have a file and you want to transfer that particular file, okay, and there is a group of network or a group of people whom it is, okay. So let's say I want to send that particular file to Anushka, okay. Now everyone in that particular node or everyone in that particular level, okay, has the file in their system that, okay, Rinkesh is sending that file to Anushka. So anyone in that network of blockchain could verify that yes, Rinkesh is sending Rinkesh is sending file to Anushka. If everyone approves in the network, more than 50% people approve that yes, the file which is being sent to Anushka by Rinkesh is a legitimate or is the right one, the transaction or the transfer happens directly. Okay, in a bit of technical level, okay, blockchain is a decentralized way in which peer-to-peer connection is there. Okay, there are two words. Okay, decentralized, basically there is no middleman. Okay, and peer-to-peer is that if I am sending something to Anushka, or if you are sending something to your friend, there is no a governing body or a middle person who is there. Okay, so just like you give a 10 rupees note to your friend in your hand, there is no someone needed in between. That particular handshake mechanism, that's called a handshake mechanism. Okay, that particular handshake mechanism converted into a online way is enabled by the blockchain technology.
All right. How RBI prints currency? How RBI prints currency notes? Who creates Bitcoin?
Okay, how RBI creates currency note, that's a very
No.
basic
As
question.
in that person's. May I trying to say that like RBI prints the currency notes, right? So like that, who creates Bitcoin?
Okay, so who creates Bitcoin? There is no creation of Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin is something similar to gold mining. Okay, so no one have created gold. Okay, gold is basically a natural occurring metal. Similarly, Bitcoin, you can consider Bitcoin as a what you could say digital gold, which has to be mined. So for gold, we have to basically go to caves and places and mine and do stuff and then extract that gold. Okay, with Bitcoin, what do have to do is that there are certain group of professional people who are called miners. Okay, these people spend a huge amount of computational power solving a mathematical puzzle to basically mine the Bitcoins. Okay, and to give you a bit of little more of information, there are only 21 million Bitcoins only throughout. Okay, not more than that.
Okay, so there can't be more Bitcoins.
No, there cannot be more Bitcoin, and that 21 millionth Bitcoin will be mined in 2041.
How do we know that?
It's via mathematical. It's all coded. Okay, so basically, the more you mine a Bitcoin, so almost 18 million Bitcoins are mined. Okay, so we have 18 million Bitcoins floating in the network. Okay, so the more you mine Bitcoin, the more it gets difficult basically to mine more. Okay, so let's say when it started, there were only one person, that was Satoshi Nakamoto. So mining was easy. The more people add to the network, the more it gets difficult basically to mine a Bitcoin. So that's why the Bitcoin paper states that the last Bitcoin would be mined in 2041.
All right. Then Sachit is asking, I understand that the value of Bitcoin is driven up by demand and supply, but why is there an increase in demand of Bitcoin? If compared to fiat currency, then why would you but 10 note for 20, buy 10 rupees 10 note for 20?
Right. See, again, no one actually have a proper answer, okay, or a valid answer that okay, why the demand is going up or why the supply or why the value is up, okay. But the major reason why the Bitcoin value has gone up right now is because a lot of portfolio companies, a lot of companies are actually heavily investing in Bitcoin because the economic crash has happened. Okay, so if you go back to the time when Bitcoin was actually discovered or invented, okay, it was similar kind of time, okay, when an economic crash happened throughout the world, okay, and people basically want to safeguard their money, okay. So a huge sum of dump amount of money was basically invested in cryptocurrencies and in Bitcoin, and it is speculated that hedge funds on a basic level has helped in this particular spike of Bitcoin. But to be on a very true level, I don't think so it's possible to give an answer that how that demand is basically rising or how that supply is basically rising, okay. Because if more people are wanting Bitcoin, the value will obviously go up because it's a mathematical uh, way of determining the value, okay. As I gave the example of how value of Anushka would go up if her demand goes up.
All right. So I would actually say that the value of, the as Bitcoin is basically a network, and the network effects come into play even here. So the more people who want to transact in Bitcoin, the more people who want to own Bitcoin, the more people who accept Bitcoin as a currency, the demand of that currency is going to go up. There is no central authority which is going to print more Bitcoins or who's going to adjust the inflation rates or adjust the repo rates or the interest rates. So, because that is not there, a lot of people are getting frustrated with the fiat currencies that are there because the excessive amount of debt these governments are taking, and they want an alternative to store at least a part of their wealth. So
Yeah.
that is why people invest, or people are getting frustrated and looking for alternatives, and Bitcoin is one alternative for that. So it's basically the network effects come into place here.
Yes.
So if there is no, Kuldeep is asking, if there is no middleman or anyone regulating Bitcoins, how will anyone hope that he will get worth of that currency? Because INR RBI governor assures of notes, so who can give assurance?
Okay, so if we consider a world where we have ruled out the fiat currencies, okay, and Bitcoin is the only currency you have, okay, that's the same of having an owning or the rupees or a dollar, okay. So if you say that there is no middleman anything, and I have one Bitcoin today, the value of my one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin itself, okay, and something could be of 0.02 Bitcoin worth, so I can basically spend that amount of money, okay. So we always talk in the point of reference that okay, if there is a fiat currency, the value of Bitcoin is so and so, okay. Now the amount of complexity or the amount of level of acceptance by the government where the value of it is not there, we can always have that embarked that if I have a certain amount of Bitcoin, and in future if I want to trade it back to the currency, the government today allows that. Okay, so government has actually given that recognition to cryptocurrencies, that it's something which needs to be regulated and not banned. Okay, so even in the future, if certain things happen, there would be coming in regulations which could basically mean, let's say you have to pay taxes, because you do not have to pay taxes today on Bitcoin you invest in. Okay, or any other certain regulations or any other certain complexity which basically gets added, which basically gives government a bit of control onto how you basically invest in these cryptocurrencies.
All right. I think we'll take like a couple of last questions here.
Sure.
Um, so, what are the down points of bitcoins? Why do our government is not in favor of bitcoins or any crypto? I think you just answered it. I by mistake clicked it, but because it's there, please answer.
Cool. Okay, so there are two reasons. Okay, what are the downfall, or why Bitcoin is something? Okay, so if there would be one reason why Bitcoin won't be the mainstream currency or won't be the future of the part. Okay, I'm not saying cryptocurrencies. I'm saying Bitcoin itself. Okay, so do not mistake me.
Um,
Sorry,
I
sorry.
okay, it's live again. It got
Yeah.
stuck.
Yeah. Okay. So, if there could be one reason why Bitcoin might not become a mainstream currency of the world, is because of the kind of scalability issues it has. Okay. So as we discussed earlier, as I said to Anushka, that the amount of computational power and the electricity power which blockchain networks need to actually compute on a daily level is very, very, very high. Okay, and if you basically go into the maths of amount of money which is being spent into these mining farms, of how bitcoins are basically generated or mined, it's very, very high cost. Okay, secondary, or the second part of the question, why the government do not want to be in the favor of everything, is because government loses all the power. Okay, so basically bitcoins or cryptocurrencies are here to replace banks. Banks are basically owned by the Reserve Bank of India or the government of India. Okay, or any government as per for that matter. Okay, so everything goes out of the power of the government, and people do not want to lose their power, because these politicians or these people who are ruling in the government want to have their power. Second reason is that people in the power or people on the government do not understand the technology on the very high level. Okay, so most people do not understand this technology, how crypto exchanges works, how cryptocurrency works, how blockchain works. Okay, so these are two major reasons why the adoption of it has been very, very less among the whole population.
So Nilesh is now asking what will happen to Bitcoin if 22 million are crossed? How can trading be possible after that? Bitcoin works on demand and supply and it's limited to 21 million. Will it not become stagnant?
Right. Okay. So there are two things. Okay. If 21 million are mined, that's mined. Okay. So basically, you can trade and do that. Okay. And it might happen that in that particular level, or in that particular stage, there might be regulations, there might be certain laws, or there could be certain ways of how we basically
It's
transact. Okay,
9:30.
so it's not a very straightforward simple answer that, okay, if 21 million crossed, what would happen, because there are a lot of variables that could be affecting of how we basically transact or any particular part. Okay, but let's say there is nothing as such to consider, and 21 million is there. Okay, the demand will basically go down, because everyone now, or mostly people, have Bitcoin. Okay, and there are no Bitcoins basically created. Okay, so demand could be go down, and it might not be the mainstream currency which everyone uses. The second and the most interesting part, which I feel is something which might happen, is that since Bitcoin is an open source, since Bitcoin can be basically coded or change the code by anyone, we could basically change that code and or tweak it, where the number could be increased easily. Okay, so basically it's open source and anyone can have that access to change that code. It is a very highly possible likely that in future, if Bitcoin becomes a mainstream cryptocurrency in which the transactions and payments and globally accepted currency, the chances of that 21 million benchmark, it will be obviously increased at a certain level.
I'm not sure if it's my net. Yes.
Was I audible?
I don't think the last couple of statements were.
Okay, so I'll repeat the last part. Okay, so the second scenario, which is probably the most exciting one, is that since Bitcoin is basically an open source technology, anyone can basically change the code, access the code, tweak the code. Okay, in future, if Bitcoin becomes a mainstream currency, which is globally accepted by everyone, the chances is that that 21 million benchmark will be basically will be taken off and it will be probably set to something else. Okay, but
But even
in
if it is not, the existing bitcoins are still there, and we can still trade that, and the value of Bitcoin will go up, and
yeah.
each fraction will cost little higher.
Yeah, but there are a lot of speculation. A lot of people have actually tried uh, increasing that limit. It sounds very easy that okay, code is open source and you can just tweak it. It's not that easy to do, obviously. Okay, but yeah, that's a speculation. That's something which a lot of people have been trying on a various different levels to increase actually the stability of Bitcoin on a longer term.
All right, one last question here.
Yes.
Do you think Bitcoin is a bubble or a scam like tulip bulb back in 16th century? Even Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and a former governor, Rajan Sir, are not in favor of Bitcoin.
Okay, that's a
I
very
wouldn't say they're not in favor of Bitcoin, but okay.
yeah, that's not a very not a very uh, tricky question. Again, the point is that on a personal level, I do not believe Bitcoin is a scam or Bitcoin is something which is a Ponzi scheme where people are just gonna do that. Okay. The other part of is that yes, there are a lot of cryptocurrencies which have been the Ponzi scheme, which has been fraud. But with respect to Bitcoin, no, it's not a Ponzi scheme. And another part of it being is that me being a blockchain developer and knowing the technicality of it, I know that the potential of Bitcoin and blockchain in the future is very high and a very good. Okay, and if not Bitcoin, there would be some or the other cryptocurrency that would be as a global acceptance digital currency which would be accepted throughout the world.
So, do you think Bitcoin is a bubble though?
No, I do not think so. Bitcoin is a bubble.
Even currently, with all the bull run that's been going on.
See, there is obviously bull run, and okay. So see, if you can see in this particular perspective, okay, a very small fraction amount of people, okay, are actually controlling a huge amount of network. Okay, so Bitcoin, if today is this much, so in this much, a very few chunk of people are you actually controlling that major part. Okay, and why that's because it's not actually become that mainstream part. Okay, once it becomes that mainstream part where everyone is actually knowledgeable about Bitcoin, everyone actually accepts it and everything, it might turn out to be good. Okay, but I have never said this particular part that Bitcoin will become a mainstream currency or anything part. Okay, we do not know whether what the future lies in, but Bitcoin can actually be accepted at various different levels at in the future.
Okay, I know I said last question, but one last question because this even I want to know. I've started mining Pi Network and reading a little bit upon it. What is your take on Pi Network?
So, yeah, this is something which is interesting, which has been given. Okay, there has not been a day where someone has not texted me that, hey, can you please tell me, should I mine Pi or should I do this or that? Okay, now see, the fundamental part with Pi network is that if you start investing or if you start mining or any particular part, okay, the future is very uncertain. Okay, with the kind of technicality or with the kind of agenda. So with every cryptocurrency which is being out there in the public, okay, if there is one thumb rule for me, whether to judge how good or bad or how it looks like, is the basically the vision or the why it was basically made. Okay, so pi is something which has been favorable to a lot of people with the reason of why exactly or how exactly it's been made. Okay, it's been made by a very popular university. And the different other cryptocurrencies which are there in respect to pi has not been a very favorable one. Okay, so I do not want to comment on it on a very
But is the underlying technology very different from what Bitcoin has?
no, it doesn't have. It has the same technology, but the implementation is basically different. Okay, so we cannot say that the technologies hold together different. Okay, it's the same technology, but the way it is being basically implemented and executed is something very different. And see, the thing is
Implemented
that,
in what sense?
sorry,
Implemented in what sense? Am I
uh,
not audible?
I lost you there, Anushka.
Hello?
Hello.
Um,
Can you hear me? Hello.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? I don't
Uh,
think we can. I think. Okay, anyway, I think we are at the end.
Anushka, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Hello? Not sure.
All right, I think we've lost Rinkesh. So I'm so sorry, but I have to put him on mute. I hope he'll get the indication. So thank you, Rinkesh, for coming here. And it's very sad that we don't have you here to thank you, but it was a great session. Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Okay, not. All right, so it was great having you here, Rinkesh. I hope everyone who was watching, you have a little more clarity as to what Bitcoin is, what blockchains are, and and I've also shared a few sources where you can read more on Bitcoin and blockchain. It is very difficult to cover what it actually is in just 1 hour. So thanks a lot for joining us today, and hope you have a wonderful night ahead and you read more on what blockchain and what Bitcoin is, because even I feel, from being a non-technical background, even I feel the when I'm reading about it, it is a little difficult, but there are sources which explain it in an easy manner, which I've shared on my reel today, and it does hold immense potential. So I have a live schedule where we talk more about blockchain and application of blockchain. But this is all for today's live. If you have more questions, please DM me. We have a live scheduled on Wednesday where we talk about trading and platforms of Bitcoins and what goes behind the scenes there. So thanks a lot for being here, guys, and have a good day. Night.